Numerous people have asked me about this drum kit, so it's probably about time I did a video on it. So, right, I actually got this kit from eBay, and I wasn't particularly looking for another drum kit, especially after all of the other drum kits that I've bought. But I was actually have been in the market for a set of yellow drums for a little while, and that in itself actually sounds pretty stupid. But I just like yellow drums. I just, but I have actually got some. I've got some yellow acrylic. Well, technically, I suppose you could probably say they're amber. But I've got some yellowish acrylic toms, and I also have a yellow Tama Star Classic birch snare drum. Now, the interesting thing about that is that the previous owner, or one of the previous owners of that birch snare drum, was also the previous owner, one of the previous owners of this yellow drum kit too, and that's a gentleman by the name of Gary Husband. If you're not familiar with Gary Husband, as some of you in North America might not be, he is a British drummer. That's a surprise, obviously, and not content with just being a world-class drummer, he's also a world-class pianist as well, so plenty to hate on that level because, twice as talented. But I think Gary's probably most famous for doing a couple of long stints with the band Level 42. But as I said, he's also a world-class drummer. He goes out under his own name. He's played with lots and lots of other people as well. I've always known Gary's name. It must have been about 1988, I think I first heard of Gary. But somehow, his actual playing, has always seemed to manage to gently float past me, and I've never managed to really sort of pay that much attention to it, which is annoying because when I sit down and watch the guy play, I really enjoy his playing. I really enjoy some of the things he does. I just don't know why. It's just managed to miss it, or I've managed to just miss it. But never mind, we're here anyway. So I was looking at eBay, and I saw this yellow drum kit. And admittedly, I had a quick skim through the pictures. Kind of thought, it's nice, but it's like it's another Pearl Masters. I've already got a Pearl Masters in sort of similar-ish sort of sizes, and I didn't read the description. I took a guess at what the sizes were, but I didn't read the description. Now, a couple of days later, the gentleman who I bought the Tama snare drum from sent me a text message and said, "Have you seen this?" And I went back and I looked again, and I can't remember if it was pointed out to me that the kit used to belong to Gary Husband, or whether to be fair, he probably did point it out to me, and that's why I went back and had another look. But I went back and actually read the description this time, and there were some original photos on there, and I think I subsequently went back and he'd the seller had updated the photos, which was actually cool because you could get a little bit more of an idea of what was going on with them, and I put a bid in, and lo and behold, I won them. I think I picked them up on a bank holiday, and then I had a gig that following Saturday. So I took them out and I played them, and it was great fun. And I don't normally the drums, as you'll see in a second, are 10, 12, 14, 16. I don't normally play with two floor toms. I certainly don't normally play with a 14 and a 16. But I thought it'd be fun to do 12, 14, 16 on that particular gig, and I was right. It was great fun, so I'll have to do that again. But the drums themselves are in a slightly different shade of yellow than the snare drum. These are I'm going to say these are a little bit deceptive in sort of the shade, because in here under the white light, they look slightly brighter and more sort of canary yellowish than they do outside. When they're outside in the natural light, they come across more as sort of being egg yolk yellow, and I would describe them more as egg yolk than anything else. As I said, might not show up in the photos, but that's the way it sort of in person. Now, the drums themselves, as I said, they're Pearl Masters, and they're probably, the better part of 30 years old. I think certainly Gary seems to have had this kit in the mid-90s, for sure. I don't know, there's no dating on them. I've not tried to date them as yet, but if I can, then I will. So, on to the drums themselves. Now, I like weird and wonderful stuff, and the 10-inch tom is both weird and wonderful. It's a 10 by 6.5, and that was something that the seller had actually noted in the description of the auction, and that apparently that was the size that Gary was using as well, or had previously used. So that in itself is a little bit weird, which I do like. 12 by 8, 14, 14, 16, 16, and as I've just found out 5 minutes ago when I took a tape measure and measured it, this is actually, I thought it was a 22 16-inch bass drum, but it's not. It's a 22 15, which is cool. I think my Craviotto is 2215 actually. So, but in itself, it's got great punch, as you'll sort of hear a bit later. Very punchy sort of kick drum, very big kick drum as well. And I like that. It's good fun to play. So, without looking, and I will have looked by the time you've seen this, I will have actually checked the catalogues, but 22 by 15 in the mid 90s. I think I'm going to say it's probably a lesser thing. The other Pearl Masters kit that I have is a later one. So they actually, whilst they are they're both maple, they are actually still really quite different in many ways. Not least of which the sizes. I mean, this is, as I said, this is 10, 12, 14, 16. The other one is 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. These are 2 up, 2 down. Basically, the other kit is all mounted. This is on ISS mount, or the 2 rack toms are on ISS mounts. The other kit is all on Opti mounts. The other kit has die-cast hoops. This is all triple flanged. In fact, these are all 1.6 triple flanged as well. So there's and the depths are different too. Actually, I think the 14 and the 16 on the other kit, waving because it's just behind the camera there. The 14 on the 16 and the other kit are also slightly shallower as well. Where conversely, actually, the 10 inches is actually slightly deeper. And I forget what size. I think the other size, the other 12 inch actually is a 12 by 8. And then a 13 by 9. So, but lots of differences between the two kits. So that kind of made me feel a little bit better. In fact, the other kick drum is a 22 18. So a much deeper kick drum as well. So, yeah, I have two. It's kind of like the Style Classic maple thing. I've got 2 of those, but they're sort of slightly different sizes. They're kind of, the middle sizes are the same, but the drums either end of that, the 8, 10, 12, 14, and then I've got 10, 12, 13, 16. It kind of, they're the same but different, and that's fine by me. But yeah, as I said, odd size 10-inch tom, and then sort of fairly standard sizes for the other 3 toms. So one thing I did actually notice, so I've changed the heads on all of these drums, but one thing that I did notice, and I took a couple of pictures recently when I did this, is that certainly 1 or 2 of the inside of the drums have got some lovely figuring in the wood, and that I really love. And having said that, of course, I've now at the point where I can't see that, but it's there, and that's all that matters. I know that it's there. So head-wise, normally, as I've said before, normally when I do anything bigger than a 12, I will put well, anything from a 12 onwards, actually. I normally do generally an Emperor of some sort. In this instance, it would have been coated Emperors. But I didn't with this one, mainly because I only had coated Ambassadors knocking around, and also because the other kit's got clear Emperors on it, and I kind of just wanted to get a different sound going as well. So these drums are slightly more open, as with the Ambassadors, and also they've got coated against the clears on the other. Now the other difference in heads is actually that I've got ebony Ambassadors on the bottom. I kind of had them knocking around. I wanted to try them on something, and I kind of thought that the yellow and black kind of offset each other nicely. So on the kick drum, I've got a Power Stroke 3 on the batter side, and then I've basically got a clear Pearl logo head on the front, and I've also got which I haven't been able to get on here as yet, but I will do. I've got to because I've been a bit pressed for time recently. I've not managed to put these in, but these are yellow felt strips given to me by a very kind gentleman. And Andy, if you do see this, I cannot wait to get these in here and add some glamour to the bass drum. But yeah, that's kind of the kit. Oh, the snare drum. I got a snare drum with it too. I forgot about that. It's mainly because I've got a different snare drum on here, and the other snare drum is actually up here. Now I'll get that down. So the snare drum is a 10 lug. Obviously, it's a 10 lug Masters. Oh yeah, actually, the one other thing that I forgot to say about this is that all the drums, I think from memory, except the bass drum. Let's have a look at the bass drum. Right, so all of the other drums. So the bass drum wasn't, but all the other drums were made in Japan. The bass drum was made in Taiwan, or at least it's got a Taiwan badge on it. All the badges are the same, but yeah, that was another slight sort of peculiarity about it, which again I really like. But yeah, so this is just a 10 lug Masters. I don't know how many. I've not actually counted the plies on there. It doesn't look like it's that many though. And the very typical, very thin. Let's see if we can get that in there. The very thin pearl re-rings there. So, but yeah, triple flange topes. The usual sort of. You know, I know I've banged on about like strainers before and stuff, but like that one's actually got. It's a multi-position one too, actually. But that I like a whole lot more than the ones that have come later. But yeah, I mean the wires could do with. In fact, to be honest, the snare side head could do with a change too. The wires need a bit of a change. But it's a nice snare drum. It's as I said, it kind of needs a little tiny bit of TLC on it, and I could probably put some better wires on here. I mean, they've got the fairly sort of generic pearl wires on here anyway. Right, so we're about there on the snare bed. So it's a relatively wide snare bed. Now I can't say anything about the top head because I don't think I've taken the top head off yet. But the bottom head is actually got a rounded bearing edge to it. Now, something I had noticed when I changed the heads on the toms is that they've got it's got a 45 edge on it, but I don't think it's a counter cut. But I know I did take a photo or two of that, so I'll put that up as well so you can see that. But all in all, I mean, I kind of wanted to keep these drums to have a sort of open sound to them. I've always been a massive fan of Dennis Chambers' drum sound, and not that I was sort of particularly trying to model these drums on Dennis Chambers' sounds, but I've always liked his tom sound. So I'm kind of sort of facing in well, I think in that sort of open sounding direction. You know, it's just yeah, I mean. They still need a bit of a tweak, I know that, But the one and the one funny peculiarity, which some of you, if I know at least one person has noted, because he told me, is that certainly some of the photos that I posted on Instagram a while ago. In fact, actually, when I took this kit out for the first gig, I only had a 12-inch Gretsch Permatone Remo head. So instead of spending money on something that I didn't really need to spend money on, because I only own 2 Gretsch drums. They're both 14s and they're both snare drums. So I was in no danger of ever needing a Gretsch Permatone head for anything at all. Ironically, this is a Pearl drum kit with a Gretsch Permatone head on it. It's the same head anyway, it's just a stamp. I've kind of gone for that sort of that open sound. It still needs a bit of a tweak. Whether or not I get to do that tweak, I'm still working on it, basically. But it'll give you a little bit of an idea. What I'm also going to try and do is not individually mic the toms. I've got a mic between each pair, so I'll see how that goes as well. But yeah, I'm happy. I kind of bought these as partially really as a present to myself for something that's happening relatively soon. So I thought these would be a nice little, a nice memento for sort of getting as far as I have done. This is what they look like. This is what they sound like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again.